Welcome to an Ask the Experts by Sabre Limited. Let's get into this. Okay, so this is my third video on AI concepts. So I started with video 1, which was what is AI? Video 2, which is how can it get going with AI, and mostly focused on using the out-of-the-box AI. This is my AI concepts 3, DIY, build your own AI, whatever you want to call it. My name is Rob Jolliffe. I'm an expert in ERP systems, particularly Microsoft Dynamics Business Central, IT, and manufacturing. I'm subject matter expert in manufacturing. And I've been trying to teach myself some AI recently, understand what it is, and I want to summarize it down to keep it at, we'll call it a 5,000 or 10,000 foot view, not a 40,000 foot view, and not detailed in the weeds. Couple of assumptions. If you're watching this channel, it's very likely you found it because you're a manufacturing company. All of our content is really targeted at manufacturing. My examples are going to be from the manufacturing side, but this is a very useful video for people, I think, who are not in the manufacturing sector. Also, we sell the Microsoft Dynamics Business Central product. So quite often people are watching our videos because they're interested in that product and are looking at a mid-market ERP solution. If you want to talk to me about this video, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to use my book a meeting link. Please leave a good description. And frankly, if this is a request to reach out to me that could be handled by an email to touch base, please use our email, which is at the end. We want to be fair to other people so that there's slots for people who are asking questions about the video so that they have time to book their meetings. Okay. It's part 3 of 3 parts. I mentioned earlier the first 2 parts. And what I want to talk about today is doing a DIY, do-it-yourself AI implementation. So we need to talk about the skills and ideas so that you can build AI yourself. For me, personally, the biggest question I've had, because we want to be customer zero, we want to be our own AI, build our own AI before we start building AI for customers. Who would I hire? And what I have been told through my research and by speaking to other people is focus on people with a data science major who know Python, which is the programming language of the AI world, and who have experimented or used automation. They're into trying that stuff. Data science is not computer science. So it's not a computer science major. It's not a software developer. It's a data science major. It's different. I've always been focused on hiring the computer programmers, and that's actually not the right way to go. They should know a little bit about computer programming, but that's not what they went to school for. You want to match this person with a subject matter expert, an SME. An SME is somebody who knows the job. We'll use a purchasing example later, a person from purchasing. Okay. You want to have the 2 people work together on a practical pilot project, not a proof of concept. There's been some research done. MIT did a big study, and this is one of the most relevant studies where they went to big enterprises and found out that almost all, like 95% of AI implementation projects failed. They were proof of concepts. The small business tends to do pilot projects. So the difference between a proof of concept and a pilot is the proof of concept is using sample data, and the pilot is connecting to real data, but it's only working in a limited way. The pilot projects have a much higher success than the proof of concept. So you need to get some tools. One mistake I've seen small businesses make quite often when they are hiring IT technical people to do IT jobs is they not overpay them, but they pay good salaries for these people, but then they undertool them. They don't provide them with the tools they need. So what tools do these people need? You need an automation tool like Power Automate, N8N, Zapier. You need an AI LLM, and there's a lot to choose from, and we'll talk about what they cost in a second. You need to have a place to run the scripts. So I mentioned Python. Python is scripting language, programming language. You need a place where those Python scripts will run. That is probably part of the AI platform of your choice. And then you need possibly something called MCP server enabled software. So I'll explain that in a second as well. And then a place to put your data that you could secure it. SharePoint website, because these work instructions you're going to create eventually, which we get into, they are confidential business information. If you are putting them out in public, you're making your information publicly available. So MCP server, I mentioned that. I've been trying to find a good description of an MCP server for people who come from an older technology platforms and are moving into newer technology. Like, what is it? I like describing it as ODBC for AI. This is really not a good description of it, but it is a very simple description that I don't think is too simple. As ODBC was for connecting to databases in the past, MCP is through data manipulation tools. MCP is to connecting to data sources for AI. So obviously it does stuff that the old ODBC couldn't do, but it is able to sort of document for the AI how to connect, what to do with the data, and what the data is there for. So it's very, very different, but the same. So what is this going to cost? Most of the cost is going to be coming from the tokens or credits that you're using that you have to pay for your AI. So as your AI is transacting, it's consuming tokens, and you're probably paying for those tokens. The automation engine is a monthly fixed amount per user, or depending on how you've set it up for the environment, whether you're running the automation. It's relatively cheap. Some of them are free. Be cautious with the free ones, because even though the engine's free, the server you're running it on isn't, and the patching and maintenance of that for cybersecurity purposes is not. And I was originally going to add a lot of cybersecurity to this video. Just a quick aside, I decided not to because it would have made the video half an hour or longer, but maybe I'll release a separate video on cybersecurity with AI. That is actually a very big problem. And I think we may end up with a lot of people implementing AI, not considering the cybersecurity ramifications of it, and ending up with tons of private confidential business data being hacked by people left, right, and center. One of the things about the AI engines, kind of this is still relevant, is that the AI engine you choose they will offer different degrees of privacy. So what data you put in that AI, its ability to be kept confidential, and to confirm that there's no way that the AI itself can absorb that data and then feed it back to people. That is going to be higher, more expensive, the more privacy you want. The kind of leader, or positioning themselves as the leader for enterprise privacy in their AI, is Microsoft, but their AI is also like 10x the price to run as other AIs. That trade-off you have to decide. And by the way, you do not have to have one AI. You could easily have one agent that is written in sort of a base AI, and then it's using other LLMs for different purposes. It's actually pretty common now, because each LLM has its strengths and weaknesses. So you can put the non-confidential information into an LLM that's a lower price, keep the confidential information in the LLM that's a higher price. Okay, what are you going to create? This is where we get into, I've got the people, I've got the tools, we've kind of gone through and figured out what we might use and who's going to do it, but what are we going to create? So I brainstormed a couple of ideas. You could steal them if you like, but I used, and this I got from, I think it was a podcast I listened to. There were 4 main areas that they defined as places where AI can help, and it's worth looking at investing in AI. Better decision-making with existing data. We're going to have some examples of that. Risk mitigation. We're going to have some examples of that. Efficiency and utilization of resources. Examples of that. And supply chain compliance. Now, the supply chain compliance is specific to the supply chain. That could just say compliance if you were outside. So it could be medical compliance to medical rules. It could be compliance to legal rules, et cetera. But supply chain compliance for me, for manufacturing, is a bigger deal. So my first concept, which combines a few of these, let's go back to the slide again. So we have better decision making with data and risk mitigation and efficiency of resources. I think all 3 are kind of covered by this one. And this concept, if you're in manufacturing, quite often when you implement a solution or an ERP, or even if you're doing it by hand manually, you have a threshold above which you want your purchase orders to be approved by a manager above the purchasing agent. It could be $10,000, could be $100,000, but it is typically set at a point where there's a cost benefit to approving those purchase orders above that point, but a diminishing return or no return and approving them below that point. So let's call it $10,000. But there could be a $750 purchase order that is actually would fail your approval process, because maybe you're checking to see if the items are slow moving, or you're checking with the engineering department to say, hey, are you phasing out this item? Or you're comparing it to last time you bought it and it's substantially more or less and something might be wrong with it. Or you're comparing the usage of it over time, which is a little bit like the slow moving item, and determining whether or not, based on your usage, is the size of this order appropriate. And you don't bother with the $750 approval and purchase order because it's too small fry, it's too small stakes, and your managers don't have time to be looking at that many purchase orders. So write an agent to do it. Let the agent approve them, and it could just double check these kinds of things. So what you're going to do, and why is that? We'll go back to this very quickly. It gives you better decision making with existing data, because you're now, instead of just focused on those really large purchase orders where you're trying to make good decisions, you're focused on smaller ones. That's mitigating risk of making mistakes and creating errors and purchasing things you don't need. And it's efficient in utilization of resources, because you are achieving, you're getting more done with the same resources. You don't have to hire more people to do this job. Now, I think one of the things people are going to believe about the efficiency of resources is they can cut costs out of their business. So remove the purchase order approval process for the upper management completely, so they don't do it anymore, and maybe get rid of a manager who was doing purchase order approvals. I don't necessarily think that's a good idea, because I think then you're losing you're losing that knowledge and skill. And based on our discussions in my previous videos about AI hallucinations, et cetera, I think you need that person, but where they can only do 50 purchase approvals today, you can have the AI do 500. And the AI is elevating the 50 that they need the human to look at, but some of them will be $150 purchases. But a human spending 15 minutes to assess that a $150 purchase should not be done is still worthwhile. So you need to create a procedure for this process. And as I said in my previous video, you want to treat the AI like it's a junior employee. So your procedure work instruction that you're writing would be written as if you were giving it to an employee, saying, here's how you determine if this purchase order should be approved. And you're walking through kind of the basic outline. Now, you do not have to explain concepts. So you don't have to explain what a purchase order is. You don't have to explain what an approval is. The AI knows those words. If you say something like, the consumption of this material over a period of time is in this target range, and that would allow you to approve it. You don't have to say consumption also means usage, also means inventory transactions, et cetera. The AI is smart enough generally to be able to identify what you meant by the word consumption. So that's why AIs are great, because you can also count on most junior employees to know what that is. So you define all these things, what's slow moving, inventory, et cetera. And then you have to connect the AI now. This is the data science side. You connect the AI into the purchase approval process. Now, maybe that's just an email, like a lot of older ERP systems will just email out the purchase approvals, and you open up the purchase approval, click the button, go look at it. And maybe you need a Power Automate or something that will do that, and the AI is called by the Power Automate after it's into the approval screen. Maybe the ERP where you're doing this now has MCP capabilities, and the approval process is already in the ERP, and you're just connecting right into there. It doesn't really matter too much how you do this. It's just what you need to do. So that is concept number one. Please, anybody wants to do it, go ahead. I think it's a great idea. Concept number two is validation of item factors. So we're getting back to risk mitigation. We're getting back to making better decisions. We're getting back to maybe compliance as well. There might be some compliance elements to this. But item factors are used by the MRP process in an ERP to calculate and predict what you should purchase. And by the way, the MRP system in an ERP is an automation and AI. It's not really AI, but it's machine learning back into the 70s. It was one of the earliest automation of a human activity to have a computer do it. And it's very scientific. It's very mathematically calculated. It doesn't need the nuance of context, of being able to understand context that an AI does, but it needs these factors called item factors to be calculated correctly and put on the items. And humans don't always do that correctly. They don't have the time. There's a lot of, I'll do it this way, finger to the wind. There are courses, there are textbooks, there are materials explaining how to do these calculations. So item factor, safety stock, lead time, lot accumulation periods, etc. Have the agent learn those rules of how to do item factors. We're going to talk about that in a second because there's a risk to that, and I want you to understand it. Have that agent compare what's going on, looking in the ERP, probably running like weekly or monthly or something like that. You don't want to run it in real time every day because it's going to cost money, right? You're going to be driving AI tokens constantly to the AI, and it's the same item, and there may be zero changes to the item factors week after week after week, but you're paying money to have zero changes done all the time. Okay, so it's going to, I would say it has to be reviewed by purchasing. So you would not want the AI to directly change the item factors, but you want it to create a list of suggested changes, some sort of approval screen. And again, we're getting into our data science person and how to set up that approval screen and how to have the AI present that to a user in a usable user interface. So I talked about this, that there are courses, there are websites probably with this material on it that has all the definitions of how these item factors are calculated. This is a body of work that was created. Apex in the United States is a big player in this. But be cautious of plagiarism because this is copyrighted content. And it's being created for course material to teach college courses for people to learn how to do this. And if you just take the textbook and you suck it into the AI and the AI does it, but never took the college course, you never paid for the college course that the AI has technically absorbed all the information for and is now doing, you're in violation of copyright. And this is an area where I think for a small business that isn't publishing an app, that isn't going to go out into the broader community, it's gray right now, but I would still very carefully assess it. But certainly if you think, oh, I can make this thing Rob's talking about and publish it and make it globally available, you will be in a lot of trouble if it's determined that you have consumed this copyrighted material to create your AI and you haven't in any way compensated the copyright holder. So just be aware of that. So back to this AI, you're going to connect it into the ERP system, again, MCP server or Power Automates or some other way of connecting into that ERP and getting the data out of it. You're going to look at usage data. You're going to look at the sales and purchase history. You're going to look because you want vendor performance. And but what you're looking at is you're giving a lot of confidential data that's in the ERP system into the AI, so the AI can process and make these decisions about these item factor calculations. Stuff that humans would take a lot of time to do, that it's important but not urgent, so it always kind of gets put off till next week. Just let the AI do it. And again, I don't think you're not removing a body, because I've for a long time there's been a lot of talk about how AI is going to replace people, and I think it will. There will be people replaced by AI, but what is more important, I think, is that businesses will start doing with AI things that they aren't doing today because they don't have time to do it. And instead of trying to replace people, they're going to try and augment what people do so that more is getting done and they become more efficient. And if you're doing that, you're going to end up becoming more competitive, and you'll have a competitive advantage because you're using AI to do more with the same number of people you already had. If you begin thinking, I'm going to use AI to replace people, you are going to do the same amount with fewer people. Great. But you're not doing the more that your competitors are doing. And they're going to start surpassing you because you've lost the subject matter expertise to figure out how to get the AI to do the extra things that need to be done that you've lost the people for. So my personal opinion, much like banks, when I was growing up, everybody said automated teller machines are going to remove all the tellers from banks. Banks will shut down. There will be no more brick and mortar banks. The banks are still there. The tellers Actually, there's more of them than there used to be in some cases. But the tellers, a lot of them were retrained to be to sell insurance and mutual funds and investments to clients of the bank, because the banks got into this new business. I see AI as doing a lot of that. Little diatribe, little aside on that. Finally, some other ideas, just some stuff. Tracking ocean freight with AI, reviewing shop floor employee data, same idea as the purchase review, but now we're reviewing the employee scanning into jobs. General supply chain risk, maybe even being able to go look at news reports and calculate supply chain. Preventative maintenance, inventory, like analyze machine performance, breakdowns, frequency of breakdowns of machines and equipment, and try and predict what parts might need to be kept on the shelf to do preventive maintenance or reactive maintenance. So what have we learned? I think DIY AI, you're going to need data scientists and subject matter experts. It's going to be very hard to find one person who has all of that skill set. They will exist. They are unicorns, and they're going to be very, very high value and really hard to find. I think the data scientist and subject matter expert as two separate bodies is going to be a lot easier. Your AI is going to be developed with this group of tools, so make sure that you're not like just trying to get an AI tool like Claude and write your agent and that's it. That's all it uses. It needs these other things. You need to establish what you want to do. You have to have a sit down and figure out, what are we going to do? I've given a couple of ideas, my brainstormed ideas. And remember, from my last video or first video, AI is like a co-op student. You want it to do highly repetitive, simple tasks. You do not want it to try and replace an entire department with one agent. It's not possible. That's not how agents work. Agents do a task. Some agents monitor other agents doing those tasks. But generally speaking, everything an agent does should be a straightforward activity that a junior co-op student could do. That is the way to think of it. A summer student who comes in and you train him. This is what I want you to do. Just keep doing it all day. That's what agents will be really great at. Create the data the AI needs to do its job, because AIs can't do their job if they don't know what the procedures to follow are and they don't have access to the data in the back end that does it. I'll say one last thing. I got a question. I did this original presentation live, and one of the questions from the audience was, why do you have to treat them like this dumb employee? It's not dumb so much as it's single purpose, right? Smart employee, but only give them a single task to do. And the reason is because all of the efforts so far to create AI agents that are multi-purpose have all fallen apart, because as soon as the AI starts getting confused about what to do, it's incredibly hard to figure out what part of the description of the prompt was causing the AI to get confused. So by having many mini agents that do really simple things and a master agent that calls the mini agents, it's much, much easier to tell where it's going wrong. You just fixate on that one prompt and your description to that agent of what it's supposed to do. And because you've isolated it down to this really simple process, that one agent can be fixed more easily. Whereas if you try and create one global agent that does everything, it's almost impossible to debug them. And that's from what I understand, that's what's been happening. Okay. I really hope this is the last video in the AI series. I really hope you enjoyed the series of videos. I hope that this added to your knowledge of AI or helped clarify things. I am not an expert in AI. I am self-taught over the past maybe the past 6 months. It's the end of fall 2025. I'm bringing this to you just before December, and I may be wrong about some of the stuff I've said. Please comment below on, especially if you have a bit of a background in AI, on any mistakes I've made. I have oversimplified things. I know I've oversimplified things. I've done that for the purposes of being able to explain something to somebody who is, again, at that 5,000 foot view, not right down in the weeds, not up at 40,000 feet. Please subscribe to the channel. Please like this video. Again, I welcome comments on this or any of the other AI videos. As mentioned before, if you want to send us an email, reach out to us, please don't hesitate. If you have a specific question and you want to have a call with me, you can find the link in the to the description below, but please keep it to questions about the videos that I'm publishing. Email other things that aren't related, or if you are interested in learning about Business Central or any of those products, don't hesitate to book a meeting with me as well. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the video. Have a great day.